let's talk about one of my favorite words in the English language, Zeitgeiber. A Zeitgeiber is an external or environmental cue that synchronizes the internal clock to the Earth's 24-hour light-dark cycle. Or in simpler terms, a Zeitgeiber is what causes you to fall asleep and wake up at the same time every day. Probably the strongest and most well-studied Zeitgeiber is light. As environmental light decreases, we begin to fall asleep, and as light increases, we begin to wake up. With that being said, there are also different wavelengths of light that occur during different periods of the day that cause us to fall asleep and wake up. One of the most notable ones being blue light that should decline as the day progresses. And a reduction in blue light is one Zeitgeiber that helps us to fall asleep at night. Therefore, one tip that works very well for most people is to get as much light, especially blue light, in their eyes at the beginning of the day, and reduce their exposure to bright lights, especially blue lights, as the day progresses, in order to fall asleep soundly at the end of the day. Another Zeitgeiber is temperature, as it appears that there is a gradual decline in body temperature that induces and maintains sleep, and a gradual increase in body temperature that gets us out of sleep. One trick that appears to be efficacious for proper body cooling is to do some sort of warm shower, foot bath, or whole body bathing 1 to 2 hours before bed. The reason for this is because it appears that some sort of warming prior to bed actually decreases core body temperature, which once again is the circadian Zeitgeiber to induce and maintain sleep. Therefore, slightly counterintuitively, raising the temperature of your skin can slightly reduce the temperature of your core prior to and during sleep. Another Zeitgeiber that is frequently reported in the literature is meal timing, and it appears that the consumption of food 3 hours or less prior to bedtime is associated with worse sleep quality and more nighttime awakenings. Therefore, it appears that eating more food earlier in the day and trying to stop consuming any food 3 hours prior to bedtime is one of the more efficacious options for improving sleep quality. However, anecdotally, I have found that some people sleep better with a meal about 1 hour prior to bed that is not too filling, but provides them a slight bit of a nightcap and a bedtime routine. Another Zeitgeiber appears to be exercise. That said, it appears like all exercise is beneficial for the circadian rhythm, but it appears that early morning exercise can advance the circadian rhythm, such that you feel more tired when you are trying to go to sleep. The last Zeitgeiber I will mention is it appears that there are social Zeitgeibers that can help regulate our circadian pattern. However, these Zeitgeibers appear to be very individualistic. For example, if you always eat dinner with your family, family dinner is one social Zeitgeiber. If you always end work at 5 o'clock, closing your laptop is one social Zeitgeiber. If you always put your kids to sleep prior to bed, putting them to bed is one social Zeitgeiber, and there are many more examples. That being said, Zeitgeibers are just habits and routines, as well as environmental cues that help to entrain our circadian pattern such that we continue to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. And oftentimes when people have difficulties falling and staying asleep, it is due to their inability to adequately control external cues that help regulate the circadian cycle.